Do you want to ride to your next class or maybe home?
Yes, I would love a ride to my next class or home.
Where are you headed to today?
I'm headed home.
Good. What's your name?
My name's Sophia.
This is the Take a Leap taxi. I'm Ocean, and you're Sophia. Hey, do you have chapstick?
I might have chapstick.
Would you like to let me borrow? Hey, actually, our next question is, what is the craziest thing that you have in your bag?
Craziest thing in my bag.
Please pull it out for us.
Okay, I feel like this isn't a very crazy thing, but I have salt.
That's a little crazy. What are you putting salt on?
I also have this. It's a caramel apple pop, but it's like a red apple.
Would you like to let me eat it?
Yeah, actually, give us a taste test.
Will you hold this for me?
Yeah.
Okay. It's very stale.
What? I got it the other day.
It's kind of really hard.
No. And I have wired earbuds.
It's performative awe, hello?
It's pretty random. I don't really use them. I also have some toothbrushes in there somewhere. Just like those like mini ones. It's like a good thing to have. You know what's fun though? I have this pen. It's a syringe.
Oh my goodness, that's so fun!
And then now it's a pen.
Wow, I keep almost putting this mic in my mouth.
She's not very good with her right sometimes.
Doing the dual wield is just not working for you, Ocean.
No, I just am not, I can't. Oh, maybe go left, right, left.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thanks for the treat. You will take your chopstick back.
Oh, thanks.
I am gonna finish this though.
Welcome to this episode of Take a Leap. Join us as we talk to young people who are using their faith to change the world.
Hey guys, welcome back to Take a Leap. I'm Ocean and I'm here with Arriza. Arriza is co-founder and president of Chris for Peace, a nonprofit organization that promotes peace through education and youth leadership in the Philippines. Chris has generated over $5 million in estimated impact through libraries and education support in conflict-affected communities, capacity building programs for thousands of youth leaders, and seed grants for youth organizations. Arriza is also one of 10 young leaders in the Coffee Annan Foundation's Extremely Together movement. Our first question we have for you is, what's something that you've done recently that you are super proud of?
Okay, that's a big question, but I think I would say that for our project, Champions for Peace, which aims to promote social cohesion and harmony among young people of different backgrounds, different religions, ethnicities, regions in the Philippines and in Southeast Asia. What we did recently was actually pretty interesting. We did a youth-led training program for 100 young people from really different parts of the Philippines and different backgrounds, and we brought them to one place. And during the training program, we had a lot of opportunities, not just for them to learn, but also to bond. For instance, people saying that I'm Muslim, but I made my first Christian friend here, or I'm Christian, but I made my first Muslim friend here. Another thing that was great about it was that it was a youth-led training. We had young people leading the training, sharing their own experience, sharing what they've learned in their own projects, in their own initiatives, and it was kind of peer-to-peer learning, where participants were also exchanging a lot with the youth trainers, and it was like a collaborative effort to make sure that everybody was asking these questions and learning from each other and sort of bringing all their diverse experiences together in one room. So it was a very inspiring experience, and what we intend to do now is to replicate more of those in the Philippines and in 4 more countries in Southeast Asia.
That is so cool. I love that so much. So also you are a co-founder of the Chris for Peace, and I was just wondering like how you started that and how you came up with the idea.
It's actually quite a personal story. My mom's Muslim and my dad's Catholic, and they both come from an area in the Philippines, in southern Philippines, that unfortunately for many years and even decades has experienced conflict and terrorist attacks and many different acts of violence. And one of the reasons why these violence persists is because of tensions between people who have religious differences, sometimes it's political differences. My parents decided to start a family together with two of these religions in our home. They really respected each other's religion, so they decided to build a home that had two religions. So me and my siblings actually grew up with both Islam and Christianity in our home. We would celebrate both Christmas and Eid al-Fitr, other Muslim celebrations. We would learn from both religious texts like the Bible and the Quran. And it was a very enriching experience. And I think I grew up thinking that actually, despite what you see around you, despite the news, and despite what you read on social media, these two religions are actually more similar than you think, in that they share a lot of pretty awesome core principles like being generous, being faithful, being passionate about your work and your community, things like that. So more than 15 years ago, we started working on this nonprofit organization we now call Chris for Peace. So originally, we called it Chris because it's a mix of Cristiano and Islam, which is Christian and Islam in our local language. And bringing it together, we have Chris. So that was the origin story of our organization. What was really important was to use education and the power of youth as a way to bring people together. We've started up libraries and donated books and school supplies, especially to conflict affected communities. We've also ran a lot of training programs to make sure that young people have the skills, the knowledge, and the opportunities to really make a difference in their communities for peace and development.
That is so cool. So you mentioned that you started this like 15 years ago. So I'm just wondering how it's grown like to something that you probably never thought it would be. What were your like intentions for it at first, and how has it grown from there?
Honestly, I was working on it a lot as a student many years back. So in high school and university, it was kind of the organization that I really poured my time into. Like a lot of my classmates were in student council and doing a lot of awesome things in school, but I really found my passion in this nonprofit that was outside school. It was sort of this family-led organization, something that my parents and I were working together. In university, we got registered as an official nonprofit here in the Philippines. We're still a small organization, but I think the sense of sustainability and being able to run programs that young people can take advantage of and continue to be part of for years is now something that we're aiming to do.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you mentioned that you have in your household both Christian and Muslim, and I'm wondering what values like came from that made you want to keep going with this organization even though you weren't getting paid, if that makes sense.
We see a lot of things on stereotypes about different kinds of people online and offline. We talk about it, we joke about it. And I felt that I was kind of caught in the middle because here in the Philippines, we are a Catholic or a Christian majority, and we have a Muslim minority. And if you are in communities where you only have one side present, you tend to hear a lot of judgment, a lot of biases against the other side. And I think being in the middle, being exposed to these two religions, I felt that it was my responsibility to help people understand a little bit that we are more alike than we are different. And I wanted to do that through the work that I do through education, by working with young people, and believing really, like you said, like these values do exist in both religions. Like, for instance, charity and generosity, it's a big part of Christianity. And it's the same in Islam. One of the 5 pillars of Islam is actually to give alms or donations to the poor during special occasions, which is not unlike what we are encouraged to do during Christmas if you're a Catholic. There are so many of these similar values that can hold communities together even if they have different faiths.
I definitely agree with you. There are just so many similarities, and honestly, like all religions, that we just like don't realize at first glance. So yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Was there a specific moment or experience that awakened your passion for social justice and dialogue?
I think there were several probably for me, and a lot of them came from personal experience. I feel very privileged because in the Philippines, I grew up with good opportunity to get quality education, which is not something that is given to a lot of people. And I also was able to grow up here in Manila. In comparison, I have a lot of family members who ended up growing up in rural areas that are unfortunately affected by conflict and acts of terrorism. They were experiences like, for instance, waking up to the sound of gunshots in their neighborhood or having to go to school with soldiers there, like fully armed soldiers patrolling your school because there's been an incident, which is insane because you don't go to school expecting that there would be somebody there holding like a full-on Armalite or a big machine gun, but that's what happened during those times that there were these terror attacks. So those experiences, I think, really held on to my mind. At the same time, because I had relatives who are Muslim, especially women, you would see that they would be wearing the hijab or the headscarf that normally a lot of Muslim women wear. And it became a source of, I would say, misunderstanding whenever we would go out with them. So, for instance, I've literally heard people say or whisper around us when I'm with my relatives. They say things like, oh, Muslims are terrorists, or, they can be violent, things like that. And you even see sort of this tension or this distance that people, they kind of distance themselves from something they don't really understand. So I think that was a lot of motivation for me to try to help them understand. I think personally, a lot of my journey as well has been, I think, as a young woman. In many ways, I think coming into this very young, this work and being exposed to like national organizations, international organizations, where typically the people leading those organizations are much older than me. And in many cases, they're not female, they're male. I think I sort of saw like the gap there. I was asking myself, why are there not enough young people leading these kinds of organizations when they actually work directly for young people? Or why are there not enough women in these decision making tables or in these councils where they're supposed to be making decisions for the whole community that consists sometimes more than 50% women? So it was those kinds of questions that also made me want to step up more and say that, hey, women deserve to be heard more often. They deserve to be in leadership positions more often. And young women in particular, who in many circumstances are ignored or invalidated, have to also be seen as equal, and if not equal, then more empowered and more capable even than their peers. So I guess that was my personal motivation to also be a figure, I think, that hopefully inspires other young women and other youth to do the same.
I love that you looked for where the gap was and you like went and filled it, and that's so cool. How has faith played a role in your journey as a leader and advocate?
So I think I'm really lucky in the sense that my parents didn't like require me to choose a religion. How they brought us up was that they exposed us to the two religions, Islam and Christianity, and they also encouraged us to learn about other religions. And they said that if later on, when you're able to decide and you're able to feel that there's a certain religion for you, then that's when you can choose, and we respect your decision. That was really, really important for me because it helped me have a spiritual journey. It helped me to discover what religion really spoke to me. What I appreciate is that in Christianity and in other religions, there's really a sense of community that I think, like in our modern world, we're kind of losing a little bit. In the Philippines, as in other parts of the world, and I'm sure in the US, there's these increasing feelings of isolation and loneliness. And that also comes with sort of these increases in numbers of mental health illnesses, especially among young people. And I think the community that religion brings is a refuge. It's a way of saying that there is something bigger than myself, that I am part of something that is bigger than me and cares about me and will welcome me. And I think being part of this religious community was a way of like looking at the big picture and saying that I'm not alone. I can always ask for help if I need to. And there is also a larger purpose to what I'm doing, even if I made a mistake or there's something dark or something difficult happening right now.
I definitely agree that like we're losing community a little bit, but like it's so nice that religion has that community because we need it so much. And it's just so nice to have other people around you that will support you. So, what does spirituality or faith mean to you personally, especially in the context of building peace?
I think that faith is actually a really important part of peace building, not because it makes us different, but because it kind of reminds us about our shared humanity. When I was much younger and learning about Catholicism as a kid, I was asking a lot of questions like, why did Jesus do this? Or why did God do this? Why did they decide to do this? Or why did they sacrifice like this? And a lot of it I couldn't understand. And the way that my parents or my teachers would answer me was sometimes they would just say, you need to have faith. So it's not a question that you can necessarily answer with logic, but you can answer it with faith. And I think that's actually something we need a little bit more of these days. When information is very much available, we kind of lose sight of how important it is to ask these questions, to have that doubt, and to have that faith, to have that healthy sense of skepticism. I think we need to bring it more in our lives, to believe in things that may not be necessarily explained by logic. Things like, for instance, having a sense of community or brotherhood that me as an individual, it might not make sense to be spending time or spending money on like building a community or meeting up with people that I'm not really close with, but having that sort of belief that this will make me something of a better person is what fuels me to seek out those connections. And I think, again, in this age where so much information is available, that sense of doubt and skepticism also helps us resist.
It's so interesting that you say that like it's good to have a healthy amount of skepticism and doubt because I think that a lot of people are scared of that.
I would say propaganda or lines of information that convince us that this is what you should believe in, this is what you absolutely must not question, or this is what you really, really must follow. Like that sense of like hard line, you gotta believe in this. I think when you have a strong sense of faith in yourself and in your capacity to ask questions, you're not gonna fall in line right away. You're gonna be like, wait, I have my principles and I have my faith, and this kind of clashes with what you're saying, and I have to have that sense of skepticism first before I consider what you're saying. So I think it creates a barrier between you and all this, like, loads of information coming at you, which in many ways has its own purposes that are often, very opportunistic.
Oh yeah, that definitely made sense. Can you share a powerful story or lesson that you've learned from working with interfaith communities?
So we work a lot with young people who unfortunately have been victims of violence themselves. They've either gone through times of war and conflict in their community or in their family. They've lost family members, or they've also, even in some cases, had family members or relatives joining terrorist organizations or violent groups. And I think in many ways, apart from the trauma of going through that experience, of seeing this violence, they also go through the trauma afterwards of being marginalized or being isolated in their communities because of what happened to them. And in some very sensitive cases where even after family member is killed, that other members of the family are then threatened. They even have to stop school, go into hiding, and move to another place. For those young people, what I'm so amazed with is they come out of this experience still feeling very, very empowered and maybe even more motivated to help the community, to foster peace. They come out of this with so much courage and spirit to do something good that helps people. Our organization is a space to empower them. So, for instance, we've helped these young people get opportunities to get an education. So, we had a scholarship program that we ran a few years back. And for some of these young people coming from these circumstances, after they received the scholarship and finished their education, they're now serving as teachers, they're serving as government workers, helping in healthcare or in the community. In other ways, we've also helped young people be louder in terms of their voice and in terms of their actions. For instance, giving them seed grants. We've been able to help them expand their organizations or in some cases start their own organizations. And now some of those organizations are getting connected to groups abroad. Like, for instance, one of our young leaders coming from these circumstances ended up speaking at the United Nations in the US. Some of our young leaders are chosen as speakers to go to the European Union or events in Europe to talk about their stories, to talk about the work that they do. And for us, really, it's about this cycle of empowerment where we're hoping that in the tools and knowledge and opportunities that we give these young people, that they're able to bring them back as well to their communities and empower others.
That's so amazing. I love that so much. So how can young people use their platforms either online or offline for good, especially promoting unity and understanding?
A lot of it is more about listening than talking. Sometimes when we talk about like social media and content, we assume right away that it's our obligation to talk about things. And it is like, when we're able to express ourselves in the issues that we're passionate about, I think that's a great thing. But what I find is missing is having the capacity to really listen. I think we need more of that. It's easier to stick to our comfort zones, to surround ourselves with people who believe in the same things as us, to be in groups of people who look like us, who dress like us, who are the same age as us. But when you have this like reminder that you need to actively listen to what's beyond your comfort zone, I think that's where you're going to push yourself a little bit more to talk to people that are not the same as you, to follow content creators or influencers that you might disagree with a little bit, and to really get out of your comfort zone and listen to those who have different stories. And I think right now we sort of have things like cancel culture. It's very hard for us to sort of get out of the algorithm of social media platforms and just listen to those who are different. So I think for me, the antidote is still face-to-face contact. There's really no alternative for talking to a person face-to-face, for being in a group of people face-to-face. And I think we should be doing more of that in many more ways, whether it's through school or church or workplaces.
It's so interesting to me that you say that we should follow people that we maybe disagree with or that we feel we're different from, because it really just like ties back to what you were saying before about like try and find similarities between people that are different than you. So what are some practical ways that young adults can live out their faith in a divided world?
What I would advise, I think, is to have a strong sense of purpose, but you don't get to have a strong sense of purpose when you don't know who you are. And I think because, in these days, people are you sort of have to have like a personal brand when you're in school so that you can present yourself in a CV or you can put it on your social media profile. But I think we need to be comfortable with sort of sitting longer with the questions that ask us who we are, because we're still in a position where we're learning about what we want and what we like. And it's not going to be like immediate to us right away, that sense of identity. So I would ask young people to sit with the questions, try out different things, try out things that are uncomfortable. And I think the best thing is not to try to fit yourself into a box and to really create an identity that speaks just for you.
Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, share it with your friends and family, and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Take a Leap Pod. I'm Neftali Rodriguez, and our production team includes Heidi Hansen, and Ocean Marshall.